What's up, guys? Livingly Life here. Today we're going to talk about why this bipartisan system seems to be failing the American people. By this, I mean the Democrats and Republicans. We only have these two options to choose from. America has long been against labels. We can't call somebody certain names. We can't put them in certain groups. We've been trying to open up the box. But why are we putting ourselves into this political box of either being a Democrat or a Republican? What I have found, looking through the news, is that the Democrats feel certain ways about some things, right? Republicans feel certain ways about some things. But the people, if you're a Democrat, you cannot agree with any type of Republican. And this is where I think it's starting to fail our system. What's starting to happen is people aren't thinking for themselves. They're like, oh, well, I have to believe what this Democrat says, or I have to feel or think the way this Democrat thinks because I am considered Democrat. And if you feel any other type of way, then you're shamed or bashed or thrown into the trash of the Republican Party. How about we just start free thinking again? We can maybe take away these boxes and labels of like you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. You've seen this in the State of the Union address. Whenever there's no way that all of those people did not stand up on their own, they're free thinking. Whenever President Trump said, "Should you put the people first?" and no Democrats stood up, there's no way that all of those people just truly believe like, no, I do not agree with him. Instead, they probably got together beforehand and was like, hey, we're not going to agree with anything that Trump says. Make sure you don't stand up. That is the problem. We elected you to represent us, the people. We elected you to represent your district or your state, not to group together and essentially group thing. This doesn't get us anywhere. If I say I like the color orange and then you disagree, but then I just force you to believe that you like or that we all like the color orange, then our society is not going to get anywhere. We're not going to get any new colors. We're not going to start problem solving. We're all thinking and confined into the same box. You know what this reminds me of? All the dictatorships or the regime, specifically Iran. So a lot of y'all probably remember, actually probably not because people aren't educated anymore, but prior to this regime, approximately 50 years ago, 1979, Iran was a monarchy and they were establishing a Western idea. They were establishing Western values. They were more so establishing an economic state. They were building, they were putting oil back in, they were creating a working class people so that they could expand on their rights. They were allowing women to vote. They were becoming more Western, so to speak. They did have restrictions. They were not perfect. They had secret police. They were monitoring the public. They were doing a lot of things that Russia and China is doing right now. But we don't have a problem with this because they keep it in their own lane, right? Iran was moving towards that. Then the people revolted, essentially. Some people, Islamic radicalists, essentially revolted and took over the government. Since then, they have been chanting death to America. They have been reimposing the Sharia law. They have been reimposing the mistreatment and oppression of women. They took away all the rights and all the progression that they moved toward. This is what we have a problem with. They immediately raided the U.S. Embassy and took 50 people hostage. They held them for 444 days. We tried to politically negotiate with them to get our people back. They denied and declined. We tried military action to get our people back. It failed. I believe we underestimated Iran because they were so new. These issues, these beliefs that the terrible regime that took over Iran had, restricted the people's belief. It took away education. It took away rights. It took away the freedom of speech, free thinking. And this is what's happening in America today. You can't free think. If you're a Democrat, then you have to just side with all of the Democrats. That's not right. If you're a Republican, you have to just side with all the Republicans. That's not right. We need to free think. We need to get outside the box. I bring this up because I got a comment on one of my videos. And the comment, again, it was about the Iran war, and he said that we shouldn't be there. We shouldn't be bombing. And I said, well, Iran has been a constant threat to the United States since they took over 47 years ago. And they've been attacking U.S. troops, U.S. territories, peaceful U.S. organizations like embassies and consulates. So what should we do? He responded and said that they were just attacking because we keep attacking them. He's insinuating that we've bombed the nation and we bombed all these places, terrorist organizations. So then they're revolting and they're like, death to America. That's the only reason why they're fighting. He's saying if we just stop doing all of that, then the fight wouldn't be there. Because he had stated that Barack Obama and like-minded Democrats put policies in place. They put like terror or sanctions. They put these policies to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. And these policies kept suppressing their essential power, right? But that didn't stop them from reaching out and establishing new terror cells. They were still establishing, they were still changing ideology of people. They were recruiting these radicalized Islamists to conduct these terrorist attacks on innocent people. It didn't stop them from doing that. What I'm trying to say here is that both sides are wrong. The Democrats believe that we shouldn't be there. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I think we should be there because I am a war fighter and we do have a threat to America. These people have been taking civilian lives, innocent people, and they've been creating terror across the nation. You can't free travel as an American into the Middle East. That's a problem. You should be able to free travel anywhere in the world. But because if you are a Christian or if you are an American, you have extreme restrictions in this area because they create a hatred. I don't believe that is correct. They can believe whatever they want to believe just as you can believe whatever you want to believe. That should not result in violence. If it comes down to violence, then we need to essentially eradicate the violent actors, right? Not everybody is violent, but we need to get rid of these terrorist cells. The Republicans are just bombing. They just want to bomb and take out the leadership, and then they think that's going to cripple the Iranian regime. That's wrong. We learned this in Iraq and Afghanistan. Trust me, I was there. You cannot kill a belief. What you can do is take away their weapons. You can take away the missiles. You can take away some leaders, but there's always going to be somebody that step up because the idea is rooted in their religious beliefs and their core values. These people will always fight, whether they have the means or not means, right? They will congregate. They will group together. They will create these terrorist attacks and in the name of Allah if they're radicalized in this aspect. So just bombing isn't the answer. What's the end state? That seems to be the focus on the news. If we're just bombing, how is that going to change anything? It's not. What Trump's hoping, or the Republicans are hoping, is that we bomb and then the people take over and they shift their country back to the non-radicalized thinking where then they can take over and support their own country. The problem is we're going to take out all their military action, which we seen in 1979 whenever the Ayatollah essentially took over the monarchy, right? There was a lot of fight and they lost a lot of their resources. And then what happened? Iraq tried to invade. They were able to withstand Iraq, but that was a very long war. And then essentially we had to come up with a NATO peace agreement, which they begrudgingly signed, and then they went back on Iran, I'm talking about. So if we take away all of their military assets just by bombing them and then tell the people like, hey, man, figure it out for yourself, where's that going to get them? It's going to create this huge power vacuum, but now they're going to have no means to protect themselves, and all these other nations are going to, I believe, come down on top of them, creating another bigger problem, because now there's going to be, again, conflict in the Middle East between all of the different countries. What Iran's trying to do now is start to cripple these countries, I think, to deter America and get them to stop shooting, but that's a whole nother issue. What I'm saying is both sides are wrong. Why can't we just have some people come in the middle and take a little bit from this side, a little bit from this side, and we come up with a better plan? We can't have that because Democrats won't listen to Republicans. Republicans won't listen to Democrats. So you have to choose a side, essentially. I can't be a neutral free thinker because then my opinion's disregarded because I'm either not with them and I'm not against them, so I'm just nothing. I'm a nothing person, right? This is the problem. I bring this up because the gentleman who commented on my video said that those programs were in place and I had stated that they weren't working. And he said if we quit attacking them or invading their land, then they wouldn't be so angry with us. That's just not true. We weren't attacking or invading their land. I think there's miscommunication or miseducation on what the purpose of the U.S. State Department, essentially the embassies and stuff that we have over there. We have no occupation in the Middle East. We have embassies and consulate, and those embassies and consulates are diplomatic and political solutions. They just talk politically to try to gain that cohesion for Americans in their land. It's basically an olive branch. We try to help them politically, we try to help them through security, we try to help them financially. We bring the people in, we educate them on how to get a proper visa to come and visit our nation, how to get citizenship. This is the purpose of the embassies. So I'm going to bring this up. The mission statement for the Department of the State is to protect and promote U.S. security, prosperity, and democratic values while shaping an international environment in which all Americans can thrive. Right? We're American. That's what we care about. Protecting U.S. security, the department works to ensure the safety and security of the United States and its citizens through diplomatic efforts and international cooperations. This is not war. There are not troops there, right? Promoting prosperity, it aims to enhance the economic interests of the U.S. by fostering trade relationships and economic partnerships with other nations. These are partnerships. These are not takeovers. Advancing democratic values, the State Department is committed to promoting democracy and human rights globally, advocating for the values that underpin American society. This is talking about literally the human rights. We try to advocate for people to understand the benefits of having equal rights for everybody, how they contribute to better the nation and the organization as a whole. Shaping international environment, the department seeks to create a favorable international environment that supports U.S. interests and allows America to thrive both at home and abroad. Through diplomacy, advocacy, and assistance, the U.S. Department of State engages with foreign governments, international organizations, and non-government organizations to fulfill its mission and address global challenges effectively. So whenever this gentleman had said that we are occupying the Middle East, that is just not the case. We have embassies and consulates over 190 nations. We're not occupying them. We're just putting, just like they have embassies and consulates here in America. It's for that person. Let's say that somebody from Iran got a visa and traveled here to America. They are not a citizen. They are visiting. Now that Iran citizen needs help or gets in trouble or has questions or what have you. They need somewhere to go, somebody that understands their laws, their policies, their people. They would then go to the Iranian embassy. I don't believe we have one here in America, but we do have embassies here in America from other countries. That's because we are working with them. We are building that relationship both through trade, for safety, security, all these aspects. It's so that we can work together. I can tell you, working with the Department of the State, there are no soldiers. There is no mission. There is no threat. They're not out there running like forceful takeovers or identifying threats and taking them out. The security forces on the embassy are to protect the embassy. There are Marines. It is the Marine Embassy Detail. They are just simply there. Most of the time, it's 10 to 15 guys, and they're there to just provide security for the people on the embassy in case there is an attack or retaliation. In case somebody tries to go in, like in Iran in 1979, and kidnap everybody. They're there as a form of resistance before help can show up, because these people are on a foreign land by themselves, but their entire purpose is diplomacy. They are conducting key leader engagements. They are talking to the population. They're asking what we can do to assist them if they want us to assist them. If they say yes, then we try to assist them. If they say no, then we just hang back. We try to provide intelligence for them. We try to, whenever they have questions, we try to help them as far as what might work, what might not work based off of our experience and our intelligence. We're working with the nation. This is why whenever the embassies are attacked, for example, the people, the nations provide security for us. I bring this up because you don't see this a lot in the news, but recently, last week, the embassies in Pakistan were attacked. So this is an example of an embassy, right? This is a U.S. soil, a small patch which we negotiated with the government to put there so that we can then support them and try to gain diplomacy to make Americans essentially safe to travel there, make trade safe, and all this other stuff. So yes, this is U.S. soil, and yes, there are troops, a small group of 10 to 15 guys, sometimes larger, depending on the size of the embassy, and they're U.S. Marines, and they're there to protect them. There's also contractors, and that's a different story. We're not going to get into that. So, as you see here, Marines had to open fire after a group attempted to storm the U.S. consulate in Pakistan. It's just 7 to 20 guys. That's all you have facing an angry mob. Being in that headspace is important. Your back is really against the wall. So there's just 7 to 20 guys that are trained fighters on this embassy here. They faced hundreds and hundreds of people gathered to essentially storm the embassy. People are saying that we shouldn't be there. Then how do we talk to these other countries and nations? We just pick up the phone and we're like, hey man, I hope you're doing well. Or we put a small compound essentially where there's politicians, the ambassador, and all these people. They're not war fighters, they're office workers who then reach out to the community. They go outside the gate, they break bread with the people in these countries, right? They try to help them. Because if they like us, so to speak, then they won't attack us. Then we can build that relationship better. Americans can go to Pakistan because we're not in a constant threat, because the embassy worked diplomacy throughout the people. But look at this. These Marines essentially had to fight off and stave this huge group of protesters. These protesters were the Ayatollah supporters, and they were mad that he got murdered. They were caught in the streets. They were chanting death to America. This was in Pakistan, not Iran, and they attacked the U.S. Embassy. But as we just talked about, the U.S. Embassy's entire mission is peace through diplomacy. So look at some of these videos here. So this is the embassy that they tried to enter, right? These protesters essentially stormed the embassy and started breaking the windows. What do you think would have happened if they got inside? If they got inside the embassy, what would have happened? So to the man who commented on my video and said that we shouldn't be there, or they're only angry at us because we're attacking them. This embassy, I promise you, has never attacked anybody. They have reacted to threats for sure. Like they had to engage these protesters who were actively trying to attack the embassy and then get inside. You have to remember there's only 7 to 20 armed personnel there, right? Protecting hundreds of civilians who are then just bunkered down and terrorized. They're in fear for their life. So they did have to open fire after a long time of waiting. They called the local police, as you saw. The local police showed up. They supported the U.S. Embassy, and they tried to disperse the crowd to keep them from attacking this consulate. Keep in mind that this consulate is only there to promote diplomacy and promote peace. These are the same people that say that we should not have weapons whenever we're walking around the embassy, that we should not have weapons whenever we go outside the wire and conduct these KLEs or what have you. These are the same people that just want the best for the people in which they represent, which is America, and the relationship with whatever nation that we're in, whether that's Pakistan, whether that's Iraq, whether that's Somalia, whether that's Mogadishu. You see what I'm saying? But these people just aggressively attacked because they have the same ideology as Iran, the regime, I should say. And they're mad that the Ayatollah was killed. So what do? They just attack the first place that they can that represents America. And these people are flooding into our country because of these open immigration policies. Is this the person that we want to come into our culture? They were cool with us until something went wrong that they didn't like, and now they're just result of violence, and they're trying to burn down this embassy. They're trying to attack the people inside. Do you think the hundreds of people would have been safe? Do you think they just come inside? Like, what happens once they breach the gate? Let's see if there's another one. Look at that. That is an angry mob.
अमेरिका ने कराची और लाहौर के जो एम्बेसी हैं, कौंसिल खाने हैं, वहां पर गैर जरूरी अमले
These are
को
people
पाकिस्तान
flooding the
छोड़ने का
streets
हुक्म दे
because they're
दिया।
upset.
All of this at the back of the US embassy being attacked in Pakistan, which in the counter, 8
The Pakistan. So see, look, and this is some Indian protesters. They're waving the Israeli flag and everything else. The point is, there's different points of view, right? There's two sides, probably 4 or 5 different sides to the entire world's problems. Why does it result to violence? Should we have bombed Iran? Me personally, being a warfighter, I believe yes. What's the end state? I believe we have to put boots on the ground and we have to establish some type of stronghold to push the ideology out. But the long-term solution, we need to get these types of believers or these type of activists out of our nation. As you've seen just recently, there was a terrorist attack in New York. They lit a live IED, a bomb, and threw it into a crowd of people and then hoped that it would go off. They openly said that they would hope to kill more people than the Boston bomber, or than the Boston Marathon, which the Boston Marathon maimed hundreds of people, but it killed 3 people, I believe. And they hope to do worse than that. That's what these people did. That's what they believe. And you know who those people are? Those radicalized people who just stormed the consulate. But we, with our open immigration policies, just wave them in. We bring them into America. We're like, we're a melting pot. We can take all ideas and beliefs. That is not true. We should not be taking these ideas and beliefs because they counteract our freedoms. We believe in freedom. We believe women should vote. We believe that women have the same rights as men. They don't believe this. And if you go against it, then you're going against Allah. And then Sharia law starts to kick in. I started seeing in the news that in schools, elementary schools and junior highs, they were promoting the Quran and Sharia law. They had posters like Sharia law is not bad and all this other stuff. These people are just not educated, right? How did they infiltrate our culture like this? This makes no sense. You know what happens if you, let's say, detest or go against, let's say if you protested against God, being a Christian, if you protested against my God, you know what would happen? I would have a civil conversation with you. We would talk about it. And then at the end of it, I would pray for you. Hope that you find God. If not, I hope for a blessed life for you still. You know what happens if you protest or go against Allah according to the Sharia law? Cross amputation. I had to pull this up because I figured y'all wouldn't believe this. So this is what happens. Cross amputation survivor Adam Ishmael left. And on the right, these are 2 different people. September of 1983. But it's written, cross amputation is a form of punitive judicial limb amputation and one of the Haddad punishments prescribed under the Islamic jurisdiction, the Sharia law. It's described in the Quran, the Surah 5:33 and 38, which stipulates, listen to this, the punishment of those who protest against Allah and his messenger and strive with might for mischief through the land is execution or crucifixion, or cutting off hands and feet from opposite sides or exile from the land. That is their disgrace in this world, and a heavy punishment is theirs in the hereafter. That's insane. That is insane. I believe that in America, if we started just cutting off your right hand and your left foot because you protested against Jesus or because you protested against the government or whatnot. So like those people that just lit the bomb, right? Those terrorists in New York who claimed ties to ISIS or was radicalized by ISIS. Let's just say we just caught them right now and we just cut off their right hand and their left foot. Nobody here in America would be okay with that, right? Sharia law, that would be acceptable because they were creating mischief, right? Or if they protest against Allah and his messenger, because Allah is mighty and wise. As for the thief, both male and female, cut off their hands. It is a reward their own deeds, an exemplary punishment from Allah. So if you just steal something, cut your hands off. That's what we're promoting. That's what we want. We moved away from those barbaric ideas and ideology years ago. We considered ourselves smarter in this democracy. We considered ourselves more civilized, and we're just crying for peace. But yet we want to open the borders to let these people flood through. Whenever you talk about vetting system, whenever you talk about maybe not letting everybody in, looking at their past, looking at their beliefs, seeing if their culture would then mix with our culture or create problems, you're considered Islamophobic. I can tell you right now, I'm not Islamophobic. First off, you should look up the meaning. That would be the fear of Islam. I can tell you right now, confidently, let me pull this up so that you can see. I can tell you right now, with extreme confidence, I am not scared of Islam. But should we allow them into our culture? Probably not. This right here, I wanted to play the beginning of this.
Big predictions.
And we'll end it
One,
here.
that Trump would win. Two, that he would start a war with Iran. And three, that the U.S. would lose that war. It's quite a stunning prediction. Do you stand by it?
The reality is that right now, it's a war of attrition between the United States and Iran. And the Iranians have been preparing 20 years for this conflict.
I'm just going to stop it right there. You can watch the full video on your own. As he said, Iran has been preparing for 20 years. The gentleman in my comments, he said that the policies and procedures that we had in place under Barack Obama and under other presidents was suppressing the Iranian growth of their military, and they wouldn't be able to establish nuclear weapons, and we should just stop attacking them. This guy right here, who people are saying is the great predictor, he believes that we're going to lose the Iranian war or this conflict because they've been preparing for it for 20 years. It's a conflict of attrition, essentially. But if those programs were successful, if the political aspect was so successful, then how would we lose the war? Even if they were preparing for 20 plus years, they would have no assets to even compare to the United States of America, who's been preparing since our establishment in 1775. This just doesn't make sense, guys. Both sides need to just open their minds. Here's what we need to focus on. If you made it this far, thank you. Please like and subscribe. We can have a conversation. Keep it peaceful in the comment section. I will reply. And let me know what you want to talk about. Here's my idea. Let's look at the future. You know what I want? I want my daughter to be able to vote. I want my daughter to be able to own land. I want her to be successful in life. You know what else I want? I want her to be able to go shopping for her wedding dress at a mall or some type of other establishment without fear that she's just going to become another statistic or a target for this radicalized Islam belief. Because they're bombing, they're stabbing, they're shooting innocent people to create terror in the idea that death to America. This is unacceptable. We need to do something about this. We need to start looking at how do we change America to make it great again. Taxes are at an all-time high. You're paying upwards of 30% whenever you're working super hard for somebody else. You're giving your money to the government, who is then spending it on just absolute ridiculous programs. We're hearing astronomical numbers in the news. $100 million lost in the hospice scam in California. That is crazy. Why am I paying so much taxes to just give the money to whoever asked for it while they're just exporting it to whatever nation that they came from, like Somalia? That's crazy. Barack Obama started shipping planefuls of money over to the Taliban, by the way, in hopes that millions of dollars a week would stop the Taliban from attacking us. He thought that if we gave them economic stability, then maybe they would quit attacking us. That didn't work, obviously. They just took the money and took advantage of it, which we're still giving them. That should outrage you. You are over here struggling to put food on the table. complaining about the high gas prices because you just don't have enough money to even pay for the gas, right? Because you're paying so much in taxes. Billions of dollars are going to people that are not Americans. That is unacceptable. Let's go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, comment below what your thoughts are. Sorry this one's a little bit longer, got a little ranty, don't feel the best, but vote Lee 2028. Peace.